Hello, welcome to this The Work at Breakfast with me, Karen Munro, Certified Facilitator of the Work. I'm going to share with you all the things that are happening in my life, and I hope in sharing them, they might resonate with you too. No new stressful thoughts. Have you ever been in a conversation where you've been talking and it's felt as though, even though you sort of feel that they're listening to you, you get the impression that they aren't really interested in what you have to say? I had such a situation arise yesterday. I was on a call with someone who'd asked to connect up so that we could discuss an upcoming event where I'd been accepted to be a presenter. Felt confident going into the chat that I knew what I needed to say, i.e. I was able to clearly articulate what my subject was about and the benefit of it to others. So I was feeling pretty good. And then when the opening lines of the conversation were, such and such has shown up with this great topic and we want to cut your talk time in half, would you be open to that? My belief system went into overdrive. My head started with, so I'm not as important as this other person. I shouldn't have even put my hand up to speak. Why did I bother with this? What's the point of me speaking? And the strongest one was, what I've got to say isn't important enough. I quickly shut down my mind and responded with, sure, no problems. I'm even happy to give up the space to the other person. I was then asked to explain about my topic of discussion. This is when my "she's not interested in what I have to say" button kicked in. I clearly explained my approach and what I would talk about, and based on the response I received, I automatically went into, she's got no idea what I'm talking about. She's not really interested in what I have to say. She isn't interested in hearing me. And then, of course, I dropped into my victim. And in that space, I had no ability to have a conversation, to be open to what she was asking me for and what it was that had them considered that it was valuable for me to speak and this other person to speak. And I also noticed that the whole time that I was explaining my topic, I felt in semi-justification mode, as though I had to justify to her why I was wanting time to speak to the conference participants. It wasn't a very nice space to be in. I got off the call in a very emotional state, feeling worthless and not valued. And this was all from my own doing, due to what I was thinking and believing. So what sort of conversations have you had where you're considering that the other person's not interested in what you have to say? What happens to you when you're in this space? How do you respond to that other person? Are you unemotional? Do you really listen to them? Are you interested in coming to a compromise with them in any way, shape or form? And do listen to any feedback or suggestions that they might have. I know I certainly didn't. How different that call might have been if I wasn't believing my thoughts. I might have had the opportunity to really understand what it was about that person that had them consider that it was of value them speaking. I then could have clearly understood whether I did have the information that I needed in order to be able to speak to this particular group of people. And I noted that, I was asked to provide a case study, which in my head, when I was considering it, I wasn't clearly able to do. And so it was more than relevant, and that I was then asked to cut down my time because what I had to say maybe wasn't as important or as interesting as what that other person had to say. And it was also of value then to be able to sit and look at other ways that I might get my message across without speaking in this particular environment. Were there ways and other options at this particular conference for me to interact with people in a way that had them understand my message and hear it directly from me in a way that wasn't filtered, if that's the way you want to call it, by this person whose role it was to ensure that all of the speakers met a certain criteria to stand up there in front of the conference as a key speaker. So next time this thing happens to you where you're considering that whoever you're speaking to is not interested in what you have to say, stop a moment and really look at what it is that's going on in your mind, what it is that you're thinking about that other person in that moment, and what it is that you're believing about yourself even more so. And then if it's possible, track back and have a look and see when the first time was that you felt this way. I went straight back to a situation with my mother when I sat and thought about it afterwards, after I'd done the work on what I've got to say isn't important enough. It was the one thing that took the emotion out of the situation for me enough to be open enough to then look at it in a different light. The turnarounds gave me other options and other things to see that I wasn't aware of at the time when I was so emotional. Enjoy the work. Thanks for listening to this Inquiry at Work podcast. If you're interested in the other services that we offer, individual sessions, workshops, and tele classes, visit our website www.inquiryatwork.com.au. Sign up to our mailing list to get regular updates on new workshops and items that we are offering.